Elena Vasquez died on a Thursday. Her ship went down at 1400 local time, screaming through the upper atmosphere of Thessaly with a cracked hull and a dead engine. She fought the controls for 90 seconds, pulled up, leveled out, aimed for the flat ground between two ice ridges. The ship hit the snow at 200 kilometers per hour. The impact crumpled the forward section. The emergency systems fired. The cockpit held. Elena survived. She lasted 3 days. The distress beacon transmitted on all frequencies. Every 6 hours. Automated. Patient. Sending her coordinates into the void. Waiting for someone to hear. Waiting for someone to come. The signal reached the nearest relay station in 14 minutes. The relay station logged it, filed it, assigned it a priority code. Priority code 7. Low. Non-urgent. A single vessel. A single occupant. A remote location. The kind of emergency that would be addressed when resources permitted. When the queue was shorter. When someone was available. No one was available. The Thessaly border war was 3 systems away. Every patrol vessel was committed. Every rescue team was deployed. Every ship that could fly was flying toward the war. Thessaly was empty. Thessaly was quiet. Thessaly was a frozen world at the edge of charted space, populated by farmers and ice miners and people who had chosen the silence because the noise of the galaxy was too loud. Elena spent the first day repairing what she could, sealing the hull breach, rerouting power, trying to boost the beacon signal. She was a cartographer, not an engineer, not a mechanic. She knew maps. She knew coordinates. She knew the shape of coastlines and the depth of oceans and the names of mountains. She did not know how to fix a fusion coupling with a multi-tool and a prayer. She tried anyway, for 6 hours, until her hands were numb and the coupling was still cracked and the power was still bleeding and the cold was still coming. The second day she walked. The ship's emergency supplies would last a week if she rationed. But the ship was losing heat. The hull breach was too large. The insulation was compromised. The interior temperature dropped 2 degrees every hour. By nightfall it would be below freezing. By the next night, below survival. She walked toward the nearest settlement. 14 kilometers. Across open ice. In a damaged environment suit with a failing heater. She made it 6 kilometers. Then the suit heater died. Then the cold came. Not quickly. Not dramatically. Slowly. Gently. The way cold comes when it knows it has already won. It numbed her fingers. Then her toes. Then her hands. Then her feet. Then her thoughts. She sat down in the snow. Not because she chose to. Because her legs stopped working. Because the cold took the decision away. Because the body in the end makes its own choices. And the body chose to stop. Elena Vasquez died at 1600 on the 3rd day. Sitting in the snow. 6 kilometers from the ship. 14 kilometers from the settlement. 29 years old. Cartographer. Alone. The beacon still transmitted. Every 6 hours. Patient. Faithful. Sending her coordinates into a void that would not answer. The snow came that night. Covered her. Covered the tracks. Covered the ship. Covered the evidence. Covered Elena. Made her part of the landscape. Part of the silence. Part of the frozen world that did not know her name and would not know it for 4 months. Kofi found her in the spring. He was walking the northern ice fields, checking the melt lines, marking the places where the permafrost was thinning. He was a farmer, 63 years old, hands like leather, eyes like the sky in winter. He had lived on Thessaly his entire life, had never left, had never wanted to leave. The ice was his country, the silence was his language, the seasons were his calendar, and the spring thaw was his favorite time, the time when the world woke up, when the snow released what it had held, when the ground remembered what it was. He saw the shape first, a mound in the snow, too regular to be natural, too small to be a boulder. He walked toward it, cleared the snow with his hands, found the suit, the helmet, the face inside. She was young, small, human. He knew the species, had seen them on the trade channels, had never met one in person. Thessaly was remote, Visitors were rare. Humans were rarer still. They came sometimes. Researchers, surveyors, cartographers, mapping the ice, charting the coastlines, naming the mountains, then leaving, always moving on to the next world, the next map, the next name to give a thing that already had a name. Kofi did not know her name. The suit's identification panel was cracked, illegible. The ship's registration was buried under 4 months of snow. He searched for an hour, found nothing. No documents, no personal effects, no data pad, no photographs, nothing that told him who she was, where she came from, who was waiting for her, who would miss her, who would grieve. But she was someone, had been someone, had walked across the ice, had fought the cold, had sat down when her body made the choice for her, had died alone, in the silence, in the snow, in a world that did not know her and would not remember her unless someone chose to remember. Kofi chose. He buried her the next day, dug the grave with a hand shovel. The ground was still frozen in places. He worked for 4 hours, cleared the ice, broke the soil, made a space, deep enough, wide enough, proper, not a hole, a grave, a resting place, a home in the ground. He placed her in it, gently, carefully, the way you place something precious, something that belongs to someone else, something that was trusted to you by the universe without your asking. He covered her with soil, packed it down, smoothed it, made it right. He carved a marker from a block of ice stone. Local material, dense, durable, it would last. He carved the ship's identification number into it. The only name he had, the only identifier, the only proof that she had been real, that she had existed, that she had come to this world and walked across it and died on it and was now part of it. He placed stones around the grave, small ones, rounded by the melt, smooth, quiet, the kind of stones that belong to a place, that have been there for centuries, that will be there for centuries more. He placed them in a circle, a boundary, a marker, a way of saying, here, this spot, this person, this story, it matters, it is marked, it is kept. And then he spoke, not human words, his own words, the words of his people, the old words, the words that his grandmother had spoken over her grandmother's grave, the words that went back further than memory, further than records, further than the written history of Thessaly, the words that belonged to the soil, to the ice, to the seasons, to the dead. He wished her peace. He wished her rest. He wished her whatever came after. He told her she was not alone. Not anymore. Not here. Not in this ground. Not in this world. She was part of it now. Part of the story. Part of the telling. Part of the long, slow, patient memory of a place that did not forget. Because places do not forget. Not if someone tends them. Not if someone speaks. Not if someone comes back every week and clears the snow and replaces the stones and says the words again. Kofi came back every week. He cleared the snow, replaced the stones, checked the marker, spoke the words, told her about the seasons, about the harvest, about the melt, about his children, about the ice, about the silence, about the world she had died on, the world she was part of now, the world that held her, the world that kept her, the world that remembered her because he remembered her, because he chose to, because no one asked him to, because no one would thank him, because no one would ever know. 3 years, every week, in the snow, in the wind, in the spring thaw and the summer sun and the autumn frost and the winter dark. 3 years of tending, of speaking, of remembering, of making a dead woman part of a living world, of giving her a home in a place that was not hers, of saying, you are here, you are kept, you are not forgotten, not by me, not by this ground, not by this sky. I will carry you, for as long as I can, and when I cannot, the stones will, and when the stones cannot, the story will, and the story will last, because stories last, because someone tells them, because someone listens, because someone cares, The human survey team landed on Thessaly in the 4th year. 6 researchers, cartographers, geologists, atmospheric specialists. They were mapping the northern ice fields, updating the charts, filling in the gaps that Elena Vasquez had been filling before she died. They did not know about Elena, did not know about the crash, did not know about the grave. They were here for the ice, for the data, for the science. Dr. Yuki Tanaka found the grave on the 2nd day. She was walking the melt line, taking soil samples when she saw the stones. The circle, the marker, the shape of it. Too deliberate, too careful, too tended. She knelt, cleared the frost from the marker, read the identification number, ran it through her database. The number resolved. A ship, a human vessel, registered to Elena Vasquez, cartographer, United Earth Directorate. Status: missing, presumed dead. 4 years ago, Yuki stared at the marker, at the stones, at the soil, at the evidence of tending. The stones were clean, recently placed. The soil was packed, maintained. The frost on the marker had been cleared, not by weather, by hands, by someone who came here, regularly, deliberately, who cleared the snow, who replaced the stones, who spoke to this grave, who tended it, who cared. She looked around. The ice fields stretched in every direction. Empty, silent, no settlement visible, no structure, no sign of habitation, just the ice, and the sky, and the grave, and the evidence that someone had been here, every week, for years, keeping this, maintaining this, remembering. Yuki documented everything, photographed the grave, scanned the marker, recorded the stone placement, noted the soil composition, the frost patterns, the evidence of regular maintenance. She compiled the data, sent it to the survey ship's communication array. The array transmitted to the nearest relay station. The relay station routed it to the United Earth Directorate's Missing Persons Bureau. The Bureau cross-referenced the identification number. Confirmed: Elena Vasquez, missing 4 years, presumed dead, now found, buried, tended, remembered, by someone unknown, on a world that did not owe her anything. The file traveled, through channels, through offices, through desks, through the slow, grinding machinery of bureaucracy. It reached Elena's family in 11 days. Her mother, her sister, her colleagues, they received the file. They read it. They saw the photographs. They saw the grave, the stones, the marker, the evidence of tending. They saw that Elena was not lost, not forgotten, not abandoned. She was kept, held, remembered, by a stranger, on a frozen world, in the silence, in the snow, in the patient, holy work of tending. They wept, they grieved, they thanked the universe. They asked the question that every family asks when they learn their dead was cared for by a stranger. Who did this? Who tended her? Who spoke to her? Who made her part of the world? The answer came 3 weeks later. The survey team traced the footprints, found the settlement, found the farm, found Kofi, 63 years old, hands like leather, eyes like the sky in winter, sitting in his kitchen, drinking tea, watching the ice. They asked him about the grave, about the tending, about the 3 years. He looked at them. He did not understand why they were asking, did not understand why it mattered. He had done what anyone would do, what anyone should do, what the ground asked of the living. He had found someone in the snow. He had buried them. He had tended them. He had spoken to them. He had made them part of the place. That was all. That was everything. That was the whole of it. The survey team recorded his words, his story, his 3 years of tending. They sent it home. The story traveled, through channels, through networks, through the vast, humming web of human communication. It reached the news feeds, the archives, the cultural institutions, the schools, the homes, the kitchens, the quiet places where people sit and listen and remember. The story of Kofi, who found a stranger in the snow, who buried her, who tended her, who spoke to her, who made her part of the world, who asked nothing, expected nothing, received nothing, who did it because the dead deserve tending, because the ground deserves honoring, because the silence deserves a voice, because someone has to remember, and if no one else will, then you do. You tend. You speak. You come back every week. And you do not stop. Not because you are asked. Because you choose to. Because choosing is the point. Because the choosing is the love. Humanity read the story. 8 billion people. Read it. Sat with it. Carried it. Felt the weight of it. The simple, quiet, enormous weight of a farmer tending a grave for 3 years without being asked. Without being thanked. Without being known. Without expecting anything except the satisfaction of doing the right thing in the silence. And humanity decided. Not in a council. Not in a vote. Not in a declaration. In the quiet, collective, unspoken certainty of 8 billion people who read a story and felt something shift in their chests. Something that said, we will go back. We will find him. We will thank him. And we will do for his world what he did for ours. We will tend it. We will remember it. We will make it part of the story. We will not let it be forgotten. Not while we are here. Not while we carry. Not while the carrying is possible. The humans came back in the spring. Not a fleet. Not a military force. Not engineers with atmospheric processors or soldiers with weapons. 300 people. Archivists. Teachers. Linguists. Storytellers. Musicians. Historians. Anthropologists. Listeners. They arrived on transport ships. Small. Quiet. Unarmed. They landed at the settlement nearest to Kofi's farm. They did not broadcast their arrival. Did not issue a statement. Did not file a diplomatic notice. They simply landed. Walked into the village. Knocked on doors. And asked to sit down. The villagers were confused. Wary. Thessaly was remote. Visitors were rare. Humans were rarer still. 300 of them, arriving at once, was unprecedented. Unexplainable. The village elder met them at the landing site. He was cautious, polite, distant. He asked why they were here, what they wanted, what they needed. The human delegation leader, a woman named Amara Singh, answered, "We are here to listen. We are here to learn. We are here to remember. We are here because one of yours tended one of ours. And we want to tend yours back." The elder did not understand. Not immediately. Not fully. But he opened the door. Let them in. Let them sit. Let them be. They sat in the kitchens. In the common rooms. In the gathering halls. They did not bring equipment. Did not bring recording devices. Did not bring databases or scanners or analysis tools. They brought chairs. They brought patience. They brought time. They brought the simple, radical, revolutionary act of sitting down and saying, "Tell me. I want to hear. I have nowhere else to be. I have nothing else to do. I am here for you, for your story, for your words, for the things you carry that no one has asked about. Tell me. I will listen. I will remember. I will carry it forward." They listened to the old people, the ones who remembered the language before the trade channels diluted it, the ones who knew the songs before the cities replaced them with noise, the ones who carried the stories before the young people left and the stories went silent. They listened for hours, for days, for weeks. They did not rush, did not interrupt, did not summarize, did not file. They sat and listened and let the words come, in whatever order, at whatever pace, in whatever shape. The old people spoke, and the humans listened, and in the listening something shifted. Something that had been dying began to breathe again. Something that had been fading began to glow again. Something that had been silent began to speak again. They recorded everything, not with machines, with hands, with voices, with the slow, careful, personal act of writing words down, of repeating them back, of asking for clarification, of saying, "Tell me again. I want to get it right. I want to carry it exactly as you gave it. I want to honor the shape of it, the sound of it, the weight of it." They wrote the stories in the old language, and in the new, and in the human language. They made the stories exist in 3 places at once. 3 chances to survive. 3 ways to be found. 3 doors through which the future could enter and discover what the past had kept. They taught the young people, the ones who were leaving, the ones who thought the old ways were dead, the ones who thought the language was useless, the ones who thought the stories didn't matter. The humans sat with them, showed them the recordings, played back the songs, read aloud the histories, said, "This is yours. This is your inheritance. This is the thing your grandparents carried so that you could have it." And they carried it through the silence, through the forgetting, through the years when no one listened. They carried it anyway, because they believed someone would listen eventually. And we are here. We are listening. And we are telling you, it matters. You matter. This language matters. These songs matter. These stories matter. Not because they are old, because they are yours. And yours is worth keeping, worth speaking, worth carrying forward, worth sitting in a kitchen at midnight and saying aloud so that the words exist in the air, so that the air remembers, so that the next person can hear them, and carry them, and pass them on. Kofi watched from his kitchen window. He was 67 now, 4 years older than when he found Elena. 4 years of tending, 4 years of speaking to the grave, 4 years of making a dead woman part of a living world. And now 300 humans were in his village, sitting in the kitchens, listening to the old people, teaching the young people, writing down the words, carrying the stories, doing for his world what he had done for Elena, tending it, remembering it, making it part of something larger, something that would outlast him, outlast his children, outlast the ice. He did not go to them, did not introduce himself, did not ask for thanks, did not ask for recognition. He sat in his kitchen, drank his tea, watched the ice, watched the humans, watched his village come alive in a way it had not been alive in 20 years, watched the young people stay, watched the old people speak, watched the stories fill the air, watched the language breathe, watched the culture grow, not because of a fleet, not because of a weapon, not because of a technology, because of 300 chairs, and 300 people willing to sit in them, and listen, and remember, and carry. The archivists stayed for 2 years. They did not build monuments, did not erect statues, did not name buildings after Elena, did not create memorials or museums or official recognitions. They did not make the tending into a spectacle, did not turn Kofi's kindness into a story for the galaxy to consume. They kept it small, kept it quiet, kept it personal, the way Kofi had kept it, the way the grave had been kept, the way the tending had been kept. Small, quiet, personal, sacred. They built a library, small, 1 room, in the center of the village, made from local materials, a stone, timber, glass that caught the northern light. Inside the library they placed the recordings, the transcriptions, the translations, the songs, the histories, the language guides, the stories, everything the old people had spoken, everything the young people had learned, everything the humans had carried, all of it, in 1 room, on shelves, in files, in voices, in the air, available, accessible, alive, not locked in a database, not buried in an archive, not hidden in a server farm on a distant world. Here, in the village, in the kitchen, in the gathering hall, in the place where the stories belonged, where the language belonged, where the culture belonged. Home. They trained the young people to maintain it, to add to it, to continue it, to carry it forward, not as a task, not as a duty, as a choice, the same choice Kofi had made, the same choice Elena's grave had asked for, the choice to tend, to remember, to speak, to come back every week, to clear the snow, to replace the stones, to say the words, to keep the story alive. Not because someone told you to, because you wanted to, because the wanting was the point, because the carrying was the love, because the love was the only thing that lasted, the only thing that mattered, the only thing that made the silence bearable, the only thing that made the frozen world warm. On the last day, Amara Singh walked to Kofi's farm. Alone. No cameras. No recording devices. No delegation. No ceremony. Just a woman, walking across the ice, toward a house, toward a kitchen, toward a farmer who had tended a grave for 3 years without being asked. She knocked. He opened. He looked at her. She looked at him. Neither spoke for a long moment. The ice stretched behind them. The sky was pale. The silence was full. "Thank you," Amara said. 2 words. The same 2 words Elena had never been able to say. The same 2 words that were not enough. That could never be enough. That were all there was. All there would ever be. 2 words. Spoken by one person to another. In a kitchen. On a frozen world. In the silence. In the snow. In the slow, patient, holy work of gratitude. Kofi nodded. He stepped aside. Let her in. Poured tea. Set it on the table. Sat down. Amara sat down. They drank tea. They watched the ice. They did not speak. Did not need to. The silence was enough. The presence was enough. The sitting was enough. The carrying was enough. Outside, the village was alive. Voices in the gathering hall. Songs in the common room. Children speaking the old language. Old people telling stories. Young people listening. Writing. Recording. Carrying. The culture breathed. The language lived. The stories continued. Not because of a fleet. Not because of a weapon. Not because of a billion credits or 1,000 ships or a galactic decree. Because of a chair. And a kitchen. And a stranger who said, "Tell me, I have time." And the time was the gift. The time was the gratitude. The time was the love. The time was the thing that Kofi had given Elena. Every week. For 3 years. His time. His presence. His voice. His hands clearing the snow. His mouth speaking the words. His heart remembering a stranger. His choice to tend. To keep. To carry. To not let the silence win. To not let the forgetting win. To not let the cold take the story. To hold it. In his hands. In his voice. In his weekly walk across the ice. In his 3 years of showing up. Of being there. Of saying, "You are here. You are kept. You are not forgotten." And humanity had carried it back. Not in equal measure. In excess. In overflow. In the kind of generosity that broke the ledger. That made the debt impossible to calculate. That made the repayment not a transaction but a transformation. Kofi had given a dead woman a home in the ground. Humanity had given a living culture a home in the future. Kofi had cleared the snow from one grave. Humanity had cleared the silence from an entire world. Kofi had spoken to one dead woman. Humanity had listened to an entire living people. And the listening was the saving. The listening was the gratitude. The listening was the love. The listening was the thing that made the frozen world warm. That made the silence speak. That made the story continue. That made the carrying possible. That made the future real. Amara finished her tea. She set the cup down. She looked at Kofi. He looked at her. Neither spoke. Neither needed to. The tea was warm. The kitchen was quiet. The ice was bright. The story was carried. The debt was honored. The gratitude was spoken. The love was given. And the giving would continue. Not because it was required. Because it was chosen. Because choosing was the point. Because the choosing was the life. Because the life was the story. And the story was the thing that lasted. The thing that outlasted the ice. Outlasted the stars. Outlasted the species that told it. Outlasted the silence. Outlasted the forgetting. Outlasted the cold. The story lasted. Because someone tended it. Because someone spoke it. Because someone listened. Because someone cared. And the caring was enough. Was always enough. Would always be enough. The end.